President Buhari signs COVID-19 Regulation 2020 as NCDC confirms 4 new cases. Attorney General Abubakar Malami claims Constitution backs Buhari's lockdown directive. In international news, World Health Organization says don't wear face masks if you are not sick. And in sport, Ondo State's football agency chairman insists he is innocent of fraud charges.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control has confirmed 4 new cases of coronavirus in the country, 3 in Osun and 1 in Ogun State. As it stands, Lagos has 81 confirmed cases, 25 in the Federal Capital Territory. Oyo has 8, Osun has 5 cases, Ogun 4, Kaduna 3, 2 each in Enugu, Edo and Bauchi. Rivers, Benue and Ekiti states have 1 each. This brings to 135 the number of confirmed cases in the country. 2 patients have died. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has signed into law the COVID-19 Regulations 2020, which declare COVID-19 a dangerous infectious disease. Presidential Special Advisor Femi Adesina says this is in line with the exercising of the powers conferred on Buhari by Sections 2, 3 and 4 of the Quarantine Act. The presidential spokesman says the law also gives a legal backing to President Buhari's lockdown directives and other measures to curb the spread of the virus. Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami has reacted to Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka's claim that President Buhari's lockdown directive is unconstitutional. Malami insists the president did not commit any illegality because Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution permits a proclamation of a state of emergency to run for a period of 10 days without the approval of the National Assembly when the parliament is not in session. Malami says the president acted on public emergency occasioned by a dangerous and infectious coronavirus disease. The advices from the Ministry of Health and the National Center for Disease Control, which are the 2 focal agencies in the fight against COVID-19. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde joins a growing list of top public officials who have tested positive for the COVID-19. Makinde announced the status on social media that he is asymptomatic and will continue to self-isolate. His Ogun State counterpart, Governor Dapo Abiodun, came out negative after completing his 14-day isolation period. Abiodun spoke at the unveiling of 3 isolation centers in Ikenne, Shagamu and Abeokuta that provide a combined 300 beds. The governor also announced President Buhari has approved the state's request to relax the total lockdown of the state till Friday because of the state's lack of preparedness. Lagos Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has charged all security operatives to tread with civility as they enforce the total lockdown directive in the state. The governor calls for high professionalism on the part of the enforcement team in dealing with errant persons, cautioning that high-handedness may lead to violation of human rights. Sanwo-Olu gave the charge during a Security Council meeting on Monday in a discussion with commanders of all security formations in the state. All 36 state governors under the platform of the Nigeria Governors Forum have agreed to hold their weekly meetings via teleconferencing to check the spread of COVID-19 in the state. NGF Chairman Ekiti Governor Kayode Fayemi says the body has adopted technological means of conducting meetings without undermining safety. Fayemi says NGF members agreed to hold weekly teleconference to receive regular updates from all states and maintain a coordinated response to the pandemic. Coming up, African stories. Zimbabwe, Ghana on lockdown as Kinshasa postpones lockdown date. And later, international news. World Health Organization warns against wearing face masks by those who are not sick.
You are watching ANN.
Today, title reach for me to settle Blessing. Blessing for you. When this girl first got this my shop called network. Now so on top of NTF 4G phone. Now this girl could press. I provoke. I paranoid shot in reach what time, eh? The ambulance make her tell her to make she mash her act. Come out from my shop. And later I come realize say this girl go snap down. Put her for inside internet. They take her to artifacts. Now I make customers that they come with my shop. Blessing, I want make you help me manage my shop now.
My name but I think Nami and Blessing start work the same time.
Now you and Blessing start work the same time. Blessing, you better start with a T-shirt for top of your 4G MTN phone.
Business makes sense on top super fast and reliable MTN 4G. Join MTN, make you enjoy double data.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to stories across Africa. Zimbabwe began enforcing a 3-week lockdown that began on Monday in its fight against coronavirus. Movement is curtailed, shops are shut, and flights in and out of the country have been suspended. Some impoverished citizens say they won't make it through the 21 days because they live each day on what they make each day. Faraya Nwakutuya reports.
There was a last-minute rush for essential supplies and efforts to make final sales by informal business people ahead of a 21-day lockdown. Uncharted territory for Zimbabweans, some of whom are not sure how they'll get by.
I have no choice but to obey the directive because we don't want the disease to spread, but I don't know if we'll have enough to feed my family because I survive on what I make each day.
It's not just vendors who are affected. All non-essential businesses, including private commuter transport, will also be grounded.
Unlike salaried employees, we don't have any savings. We live from hand to mouth. So the 21-day shutdown is too long for us.
The situation for many informal businesses here is exacerbated by an ongoing economic crisis that's left some fearful that being forced to stop operating for 21 days may be the final push that tips them over the edge.
We are in hyperinflation. Businesses are surviving from month to month. All that has not been considered. And in fact, government has not even put in place anything at all to cushion businesses or to cushion employees. Never mind the majority of the people who are in the informal sector. So this lockdown, I think, was not a very well thought through strategy, in my opinion. It's going to have severe implications if it works at all.
There have been calls for the government to step in to protect everyone beyond business people who are the most vulnerable.
The government should supply food to especially in the high-density areas, just like they do in rural food for work schemes, because if I can't drive my taxi for the next 21 days, it means my family and extended family in the village will go hungry.
President Emmerson Mnangagwa is yet to provide details of the support his government has pledged for those who will be socially affected by COVID-19.
Many African countries have begun or are contemplating going into a lockdown in the wake of the deadly coronavirus. Ghana has already begun a 2-week lockdown on Monday in 2 of its main cities, Accra and Kumasi. President Nana Akufo-Addo gave the lockdown directive as confirmed COVID-19 cases reached 141 as of Saturday. Movement is restricted in the 2 metropolitan areas. The president directive also says intercity movement of vehicles and aircraft for private or commercial purposes would not be permitted. The only exceptions are vehicles and aircraft providing essential services and carrying cargo. President Akufo-Addo said in a tweet on Saturday, quote, "We know how to bring the economy back to life. What we do not know is how to bring people back to life," end quote. Schools in Ghana had already been shut, public events suspended, and large gatherings banned. A lockdown was to have begun in Kinshasa, capital of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, last Saturday, but was postponed by the government as prices of basic goods shot up and insecurity increased in the city. This comes a day after Kinshasa's governor, Gentini Ngobila, announced a 3-week lockdown over COVID-19. Chris Akamringa tells us more about the government's about-face.
Leon Sumpi sells vegetables at Kitambo Market in the DRC capital, Kinshasa. She showed up for work early after hearing about the postponement of a 3-week lockdown across the city. The government announced the lockdown on Thursday to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. But it was very unpopular.
We are very happy that the government has postponed the shutdown. We thank God that our leaders have listened to our cries.
The governor of Kinshasa said the lockdown was postponed because of a rise in prices of commodities by speculators, but he did not state when it will be imposed again. The news has been welcomed by many.
The postponement of the shutdown has been received well here. It has prevented a bigger crisis. The prices of basic foodstuffs had increased significantly after the government directive was made.
The lockdown was supposed to run for 4 days, with a break of 2 days in between to allow people to buy food and other essentials. This market on the outskirts of Kinshasa is normally crowded with hundreds of shoppers on a weekend like this. But many people have stayed home because the news about the postponement of the lockdown came in late on Friday. Kinshasa has an estimated population of 12 million people. Many of them live from hand to mouth. The shutdown was likely to hit them hard. Early this week, the government announced a state of emergency following a rise in cases of the coronavirus. Domestic flights and water transport to and from Kinshasa have been banned until the disease is contained.
When we return, international news. World Health Organization warns against wearing face masks by those who are not sick. And later, sport. Ondo State Football Agency chairman insists he's innocent of fraud charges.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is CNN News. In international news, there are many Africans in different parts of the continent that have donning face masks since the novel coronavirus appeared on the continent. It was even beginning to look like a fad. Now, the World Health Organization has cleared the air on who should be wearing these face masks. The UN agency says you should not be wearing a face mask if you are not sick. It says there is no evidence that wearing the mask or the face mask has any potential benefit. WHO says there are some findings that suggest the opposite may even be true if the mask is not properly worn or fitted. These points were made on Monday by WHO Executive Director of Health Emergency, Mike Ryan. He said only those who are already sick and those caring for the sick need to wear this mask. Ryan said the global shortage of medical supplies and the risk frontline workers face every day suggests those who don't need the mask should not be wearing them, so the frontline medics can have the supplies they need. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has echoed WHO's stance that face masks are ineffective in filtering small particles from the air and may not help if an infected person sneezes or coughs nearby. So, rethink if you wear face masks. New York medics thinking under the weight of overwhelming coronavirus cases in the city are a bit relieved as the U.S. Navy hospital ship Comfort pulled into New York Harbor on Monday. This will be of immense help to the city of 8.5 million inhabitants that has now become the country's epicenter of the pandemic. This humongous ship will provide 1,000 beds and 12 operating theaters. It is not there to care for the coronavirus patients, but to offer relief in the treatment of other patients from the city's overburdened hospitals. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio told reporters about the ship's imposing presence. He described it as a beacon of hope. New York City has recorded more than 36,000 cases of coronavirus. Nearly 800 patients had died of the virus as of Monday. Experts had projected New York's cases would hit their peak by April. The mayor said he would continue his campaign for the federal government to provide more ventilators, personal protection equipment, and trained medical personnel, so the city would be well prepared for the expected surge in cases. UK Finance Minister Rishi Sunak has announced a long-awaited income support scheme for Britain's self-employed persons in response to the outbreak of COVID-19. The British government will pay grants to self-employed persons who have lost their livelihood because of the coronavirus lockdown. This would further extend an unprecedented package of measures to prevent the economy from collapsing. Nicole Johnston reports from London.
Spring is normally busy for wedding dress designer Tatiana Porembova, but not this year.
For the last few weeks, we haven't had single inquiry, and I do not expect that change.
To help self-employed workers like Tatiana, the government will pay 80% of their salaries for up to 3 months, to a maximum of just over $3,000 a month. But Tatiana says this may not be enough.
We're struggling now for weeks and for months on end, but also businesses like mine, which are seasonal, similar to travel or hospitality, we will feel the effect of this crisis long-lasting after we go back to normality.
With the UK in lockdown, business activity has ground to a halt. The government has put up more than $400 billion worth of loans to help companies. And it's now agreed to help pay salaries in an unprecedented state intervention into the British economy.
East London is regarded as a hub for young people working in the creative arts and gig economy. They're part of the country's 5 million self-employed. The government says its new financial package will cover 95% of them. The problem is, though, they won't receive any money until June.
And for many people, that's too long to wait.
That's all well and good, but I think it's all about the here and now. I mean, what are people going to do now? They need some money or some help now. 3 months is a long time to wait if you've got nothing or limited income.
Solomon Boachidua is a self-employed personal trainer. He also mentors other trainers. He says his colleagues are worried and anxious about their businesses, but he's shifted to online and is training people remotely.
I think now people are at home, and to stay mentally sane, they look to exercise as one of the things to keep them going. As you can see, there's lots of people out in the park today where usually they wouldn't be. Because there's less to do, and for sanity, it's increasing inquiries for the likes of myself and other trainers.
In these times of social distancing, Solomon has managed to adapt. But millions of other workers don't have that option. And they'll now depend on the state to look after them, for as long as this crisis continues.
Up next, sport. Ondo State Football Agency Chairman insists he's innocent of fraud charges. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN. Somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you'll need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, Africa News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone, or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, Chairman of the Ondo State Football Agency, Tajuddin Akinyemi, says he's ready to clear his name with the House Committee on Youth and Sports Development of the State House of Assembly. Akinyemi has been accused of misappropriating the agency's funds and running the state football agency as his personal property. Akinyemi says he has all documents available to clear his name. Sunshine Stars are currently 9th in the Nigerian Professional Football League standings with 35 points from 24 games. Unbeaten UFC lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov is already expecting a 5th postponement of his long-awaited fight against American Tony Ferguson. The pair were set to meet next month in New York, but the venue has been ruled out because of the coronavirus pandemic. The fight has been postponed 4 times, mostly on health issues. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. But don't leave yet. We want to bring you this song by Nigerian musician Kobum Sazukwa, a song he produced for the United Nations on bringing awareness to the deadly effect of coronavirus. Watch, listen, and take the advice the song contains, and please stay safe. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Have a pleasant evening.
My brother, my sister, papa, mama, and pikin. Corona, no big pass us. We go fight time, we go win. As long as we remember to always do the right thing. Wash your hands, love each other, we go win. Oh. Corona, na the virus, we dey worry human being. E no get Lego, but e dey waka from person to person. But we fit beat time, we fit stop time if we maintain good hygiene and practice social distancing. We go win. Oh. No shaking hands with your neighbor. Blow them a kiss from afar. Use soap and water to wage war. Let's show this thing who we are. We are special, we're courageous, we are awesome human beings. We dey super, we get power, we can conquer anything. If we hear word and obey laws and exercise discipline. Wash your hands, love each other, we go we know. Self-isolate for the sake of all the people that you love. Oh, don't go around spreading rumors, 'cause fake news won't help anyone. You are special, you're courageous, you're a caged human being. You too much, oh, you get power, you can conquer anything. Only if you hear word and obey laws and exercise discipline. Wash your hands, love one another, we go, we know.